Mondays here on Kababayan LA, we give you American Dream, which is a segment where we explain immigration updates, immigration laws, and a lot of different scenarios in immigration. Coming to you from Attorney Richard Lowe and Attorney Allison Aquino of Aquino & Lowe Law Firm. It's not a Wednesday today, but they are here on the show. It's a Tuesday, and you know what that means. We're going to be opening our phone lines, and we're going to take your questions about immigration. But for now, my first question is, what's the latest? What's the latest about immigration? Is it busy? Do they have hope? You know, I know that a lot of companies not hiring, so really no hope for H-1B visas. What about student visas? What about, you know?
Well, I think the latest, which we are getting a lot of inquiries in our office, is certainly President Obama's pronouncement somewhat recently. And so there is positive news simply because the administration and Congress, you know, at least certain members of Congress, want to see immigration reform. And in California, there was also the positive legislation regarding the California DREAM Act. And so there is certainly hope as far as immigration is concerned, but as you point out, because of the economy and, you know, problems within the nation, immigration has not gotten the attention that it really needs to.
But he rallied behind that also when he was campaigning for presidency the first time. Do you think that he's using that to kick off his rally for the next, or campaign for the next election, running for re-election, or is there something that's really going to happen?
Well, I don't know that you can totally put this on President Obama. I think the Congress has had a lot of responsibility in not passing the legislation that it should have passed. We had a Democratic Congress for 2 years, and we didn't get the DREAM Act passed with a Democratic Congress. We had 5 Democratic senators voting against it. So I don't think you can put this all on Obama. He has put the message out there that he wanted to make changes. He's tried to make some structural changes within the federal government in order to accommodate more immigrants. But this is going to take what he calls a comprehensive immigration reform, which is not going to go through a Congress which is divided.
Right, and sadly, Allison, a lot of this is really politics, and so us mere ordinary citizens, what can we do in the meantime? Is there anything we can do?
Well, as you point out, a lot of it is politics, and what people need to do is contact their Congress members, because that really is the only way to affect the political landscape.
Do they really listen to that?
Oh yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very effective to call your congressman and say, what are you doing about immigration? It's important to me. And that phone call is worth a lot.
And so we are, speaking of phone calls, we're going to be taking your phone calls today on Kababayan LA. Phone lines are open. That's the number to call on the screen. Let's talk about H-1B. So if it's not available, if you can't get a sponsor, are there any other ways that you can go around it? Maybe student visa, are they more lenient now if you can afford to pay tuition fee?
Well, there are a multitude of visas. So there are student visas. There are other type of work visas that you can certainly try to avail of. A lot of them do involve a sponsor, but if you are willing to invest, perhaps, then you can go ahead and obtain a work visa. With respect to the H-1Bs, right now, because of the economy, H-1Bs are still readily available.
Okay.
Right now, immigration has only processed or received about 31,000 applications, so it's still fairly open.
A lot of applications still, though, for family-based petitions. Where are we right now? How long is the wait?
You know, the wait is getting better. It's, you know, probably going to be 4 years or so for the categories of legal permanent resident petitioning for their spouses or their children or their older children. So we've got to wait, but you know, the process goes on. People still want their family here. People still want to be united with their family, and that process goes on. Nothing has changed with that, and that is still an important thing that can be done during this time.
And it's still better to file an application earlier rather than later, correct? Because at least it's moving, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been doing this now for almost 15 years, and I have clients who I first consulted with 15 years ago who didn't want to file the petition just because the waiting period was so long.
Right.
15 years later, they're still waiting, and now for nothing, because they hadn't filed that application thinking, well, it's going to take a long time, why bother?
And I like that we talk about this on the show also. Once you get your green card, you still have to be very careful, correct, Richard?
Absolutely. You always have to be very careful, because your green card allows you to stay here, but you're still kind of with the permission of the government, and you have to keep your nose clean and stay out of trouble, and you have to make sure that you're dotting your T's and crossing your eyes. Is it the other way?
Yeah,
dotting your I's and crossing your T's?
Yeah, the other way.
You want to make sure you're keeping everything on the straight and narrow, because if you get into problems, your green card could be taken away.
Yeah, leave it up to Richard, making sure that we all are listening. And when we return, they're going to be listening to your questions and answering those as well. So don't go away.